Any assignment from last
Also,
time?
you didn't.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I want to do, if someone have let me try to find it here. There's a passage I want us to find, and I'll find it for you. It's in Mark chapter 11. Mark chapter 11, let me go to it. Mark chapter 11. And I think it's probably around verse 21, probably. Okay, let's go here. All right, so let me go. I want to highlight it and put it where I want it to be. So I should go here, and then I should go here, and I should put it here. Let me put it here. And then I'll share that with you once I put it here, okay? Okay, so I've done that. Let me just do a couple of things here. Clean this up a little bit. And then once I clean it up, I'll bring it in. So now I go back to, where do I go now? To here. And I want to share that. No, share. What do I share? And where it is. Okay, right. Okay, share that. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to share this with you. And I'm calling this the quantum U. And I would explain that. That's part of the principle of physics, right? So I want you to look at the passage that's stated there. And Jesus answered and said to them, have faith in God. See that? Have faith in God.
Yes, sir.
And then he says, truly, I say to you, whosoever says to this mountain, be taken up and cast into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says is going to happen, it will be granted. Now, that's a very complex statement. Do you believe that? Have you practiced it? What are your thoughts? Very simple, straightforward. You have been exposed to that passage before, right?
It's not something that I've experienced, but
can you accomplish it?
Yes, I believe I do, but not in a literal way.
Okay. Well, explain to me in a, if it's not literal, tell me how you can do it. What is the message?
Let's say, for example, I intend to do something which for many could be impossible. And now if I exercise my faith and work on what I wanted to do, I will come successful with it. You know, I've been through some things, like, let's say, for example, even if we are speaking in the school world or school situation, there are some government exams that at times you may have to do, where it is really stressful, and maybe because of your, ability, you may feel skeptical about being successful in that exam. But really and truly, as a Christian, when I pray God about it, I just start having the faith that no matter what, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to pass the exam and have success. Then all the fears are gone, everything are gone, and then I just work through it. And then when I reach to the exam period, I do what I have to do. Then when the result come in, I'm successful. That's one of the way I would interpret it.
So you're saying that you have the power to change your reality. You have the power to change your circumstances. You have the power to change your life?
Yes, as long as you are optimistic about it.
As long as you're serious about it. That's what you're saying? So the question is, why would you not be serious about changing your life and accomplishing your goals and the realities that you set for yourself? Why would you not be serious?
That's what I'm saying. In this year, perhaps what the persons, most time what we do, we look at the, the big mountains, like the surroundings. We don't go beyond what we are seeing. And the obstacles that we are looking at avoid us, to take our dream at hand and say, well, I can make it, I'm going to make it. But we rely on the obstacles to be skeptical and say, well, for this reason, I don't think I'm gonna reach here. And so we can't take it as serious as we should have, because we already look too much at the obstacles.
So what you're saying is that we are shaped by our environment. In other words, you look outside and what you see, you draw a conclusion as to who you are in terms of what you can and cannot accomplish. So
Yes.
for example, someone who may have been socialized in a community where he or she is told repeatedly that they are inferior and that they are of no value, over a repeated period of time, ultimately can become that person. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes, yes.
So then our environment shapes us. Now, but the illustration that you mentioned from this passage is that we ought to shape our environment rather than the reverse. In other words, we don't allow our environment to shape us. We have the ability to shape ourselves. My question then would be, what is it about in you that you have that can create that change? What is it? What part of your body? Is it your heart that pumps the blood? Is it what exactly?
Your mind, sir. I think it is
the
your
mind or the brain. Let's say the brain.
Yes, because the reason why I said that no other part of the body does not have a mind of its own. So it is controlled by something that allowed them to move. So I would say
which is the brain.
Yes.
The brain. Okay, the brain. Because in the brain, you have all the neuron, the transmitters, and so on that fires, and things are firing all the time, right? Memories are stored. Exactly. And so when you talk about having an exam, and then you are now worried that you may not pass that exam, that's information that you have interpreted from the world that's flowing in your brain and your synapse, that's flowing and circulating, that may generate optimism, or it may generate pessimism, hopelessness, or optimism. But you're looking at the exam, and then you interpret in terms of your self-definition. The definition might be, I am incompetent. I cannot pass this exam. I will not pass this exam, as opposed to, I can master this exam. I have enough stored information in my brain that says to me that this exam is nothing. I'm going to walk through this because I have stored information in my brain that tells me that I can do this. So I come to the scene with optimism, and I come with hope based on the information that is stored in my brain.
Yes.
So the point that I want to make is, when we talk about human development, what are the contributors in terms of me shaping who I want to be and becoming who I want to be?
All right, sir. So this is still a part of the study of the development of the brain that we have been looking at?
Yes.
Okay.
And Richard, I think, wanted to comment and say something. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. In that sense, suppose you are preparing for that change, but circumstances or situation arise where you have to differ from that or make a detour to something else. Maybe sometimes you are not so comfortable with it, but you just go along with it.
Well, again, you're operating on stored information in your brain. Whatever that situation is, you're pulling up a template, you're pulling up some memory that says that you either can't do it or whatever it is. You are they're memories, they're things that's stored in your brain. Maybe you've had a similar experience in the past that you have stored. Maybe you've done an exam before. Maybe it's a situation that you've experienced before that you could not overcome. That information is stored in your brain. So whenever you come to a situation like that, that situation will then trigger that memory. And then that memory may trigger fear or trigger anxiety, or it can trigger optimism if it's something that you have accomplished successfully. Or if it's something, it may create a sense of fear where you may avoid it. For example, that day you may start having, anxiety attack. You may feel sick. You may then rationalize and come up with some excuse like, you know what, I'll try this tomorrow. Let me leave it alone today. Okay. So procrastination can be an intervention which facilitate the memory, which is a memory of failure anyway. So you're always going to put it for tomorrow to avoid it. But it's the memory you're pulling from past experience. So in a way, we can shape our destiny. We can choose who we want to be and be that person. So we sometimes have an idolized you, who you would like to be, but also you have a you who you actually think you are. And so the idolized you is different from the actual you. You may want to be a great person. You may want to be a great preacher, a great speaker, a handsome person, I don't know, a very wealthy person, but now you're poor. Okay. So that's your reality, but the one that you want to be might be different. So the question for me is, can you become the idolized you, the one that you want to be? Can you change who you think you are now to the one that you'd like to be? And how do you do that?
So is that what we call the quantum you?
Precisely. In other words, that you out there. Now, I want you to think about go back to the passage again. Truly, I say to you, whosoever says to this mountain. So what mountain do you have in your life that you want to, maybe it's being a good student. I don't know. Maybe it's stop lying. Maybe it's stop drinking. Maybe it's stop tired of failing. Or, what is that mountain that you have in your life that you want to move? And that's something you have to be honest with. One of the reasons that people do alcohol and cocaine and drugs, because they don't want to face the reality of who they are and what they want to be. That contradiction about who they are and what they want to be is too much to bear. So they numb themselves up, They don't want to deal with that reality. Many people give up the church, for example, because when they look at the way they live their life and what Jesus is calling them to live and the one that they really admire, I don't think there's anybody who don't admire Jesus's life. We want to be like him. But then you may notice that your life is so far apart. Then you say, I gave this thing up. Why even go to church? Then you may even begin to rationalize that Jesus is fake. He doesn't exist anyway. The Bible is not true anyway. It's all man-made. So you make up all of those rationalization in order to continue your path of failure. And many people quit the church because of that reason. They can't live up to the standards, so they either hide or they simply come out saying it's all fake. And they may say all church people are hypocrite anyway. The Bible is a man-made book. There's no such thing as Jesus. It's all an illusion, delusional. It's impossible. You know, it's impossible for me to have one woman. Why should I have one woman when all these beautiful women are out here? Therefore, the Bible is useless. I don't need that. So we tend to rationalize or intellectualize certain issues that may be difficult for us to handle. So we come up with ways to deal with it. But the point is, we continue in our path of destruction, our path of denial, our path of weakness, and a path of failure, because we don't want to face that reality and to go into that quantum phase of the transformation. So if you look at Romans chapter 12 verses 2, it says, do not be conformed to this world, but be by the renewing of your mind, which is the transformation of your mind, to be who you want to be, that idolized self that you want to be. You can be that person. And that's what Christianity really is about, to be honest with you. Christianity is designed to help us to be the very best that we can be.
Yes.
You know, but we sort of twist it all around and make it somebody else's issue rather than focusing on self and being the very best that we can every day, one day at a time, to accomplish all those. Because Jesus clearly, you know, I think he said to Nicodemus, remember that passage, John chapter 3, except ye be born again, you cannot enter into the kingdom of heaven. Jesus is talking about that idolized self that you need to be, which is to be like him. That's the standard. And when you look in the mirror, you ought to be able to see how close you are to that idolized self that you want to be, which is to be like Christ. So you can see how far you have to go, because you know what your weaknesses are. You don't need a preacher on Sunday to tell you that. If you need a preacher on Sunday to tell you how close you're coming or how far away you are, you have a problem.
Yes, sir.
And let me tell you why. If you look at 1 John chapter 4 and verse 4. 1 John chapter 4 and verse 4 says, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. That is the standard right there that you have to be working on every day, whether you're in the assembly or not. So when you go to the assembly on a Sunday, is to celebrate and thank God for how far along you have come and how close you are to emulating his son, who is in residency in you. That's what service is. That's what true worship is. But sometimes we go to worship, we're not thinking about that. Our mind is elsewhere. But we go there to say thank you for the progress that I've made this week. I think I'm closer to you today than I've ever been. And I think tomorrow I will get even closer to you, to emulating, to allow you to control my life, to allow the Holy Spirit to transform the weaknesses and the deficiencies in my life. That is essence, a full-time task. In Ephesians chapter 4, it talks about until we all arrive at the fullness of Christ, the knowledge. That's a transformation, and that's a individual, a personal transformation that must happen. So when I talk of the quantum, that's what I'm talking about. The you that is transforming. Any questions?
No, sir. You were asking a question earlier, but you forgot.
Go ahead and tell me what it is.
I don't think I really remember as well, but I think it was about all. Is it possible for us to change our situation to become?
Yes. Well, that's what we're talking about right now. Exactly the point.
Yeah.
Is it possible to change your situation? But you have to have a clear goal. When you look in the mirror, what do you see? James talks about the mirror. When you look into that mirror, you see yourself. Are you happy with that self you see? Or are there things you want, the idolized self that you want to change? And can you do that? And this lesson is saying, yes, you can. Because I want to show you how I want to talk about this. And we're going to be talking about some names that I want you to research and understand their views. And one of the names that I want you to write it down now is on the screen.
Rene
Descartes. Yes, I want you to write that name down. I want you to research this, Google this, however you choose to do, and look at what his contribution has been, but also how wrong he was. Okay. But for centuries, his view was accepted as the only view. So both of you should do look up this guy because you're going to see it again. He's a 17th century mathematician and a philosopher. Who predicted that the world is controlled by predictable laws. And that's where, if you remember who were with me last year, we talked about Freud. And Freud says all our behavior predetermined in the past by the way you were raised. That's it. It is what it is. So when a young man commits a crime, we tend to look back at how he was raised to find the reason for him committing the crime today. And that was where that was part of the view that Freud was using, that we are the product of our environment. And we are just victims of our environment.
Yes, sir. That's a big mistake.
It is, but
and the reason why I say that, I don't know if you have seen it, but there is a video that is like viral on the internet. A guy was being judged for something that he has committed, but the judge was a woman, and she knew him while they went to primary school together. And he said that this man was the most, respectful, calm, like the best.
He's a good guy. He was a good character guy.
Yes, in their class. But she was asking, what has happened to you, sir? Where is the person that I knew? So we could be someone that we were taught to be, or our environment, our parents shaped us to be. But later on down the line, something may happen, which is going to change all of that. And I know of a guy like this in Haiti. He was a very, calm boy and all of that. But one day, for money or something, some gang people murdered his mother. And then he got mad. He had given himself the goal of getting revenge for his mother, and he became the worst person in the area where we were living. And police had to come for him and shot him dead and all of that. But people wouldn't believe he would become such a person.
Okay, so something from his environment happened that changed his life.
Yes.
Again, you're validating the idea that sometimes we allow our environment to have permanent scars on our character. Now, the issue here is that the efficacy of the blood of Jesus, can it change? How effective is the blood of Jesus, the sacrifice of Jesus, in rewriting all the wrongs that have impacted the shaping of our personalities?
Well, it can, it sure can, because if I'm looking at myself as a living witness, I'm no different than those in the world. I could have been doing the same things they are doing. But since I know that I'm a Christian and I'm trying to follow Christ's lifestyle, so I have given myself the obligation to live by the word. And so this is what is, has shaped my worldview, my life, how I think, everything.
Okay, so that's a wonderful way of analysis of looking at things. And so the message is here that we can change our circumstances and we can be whoever we choose to be by utilizing the power that lays within each of us. God has given us the free will and our ability to think, and we should exercise that to improve and enhance the quality of our lives individually, the quality of our family life, and the quality of our neighborhoods, making a meaningful contribution. And that's kind of where, I want us to understand in terms of the human development as we are developing, that there comes a point when we can make a difference. So I want to, I want you to remember that, gentlemen, and to do some personal research on that for yourself. So
like on what exactly? Are we to search everything about Rene Descartes, or is
just his contribution? What is he known for, and how does it apply? And I will help you to see how it applies. For example, for centuries, the division stood as the, in terms of accepting the nature of reality. This guy was the person who promotes that, because that the belief imposed that there's a duality between matter and spirit. And so he essentially said the mind can never be scientifically studied. So that the mind was relegated to religion.
Was he the one who said essence precedes existence?
Yes. He's arguing that you have and that's why to this day that there is a significant separation between religion and science. So today, religion is not allowed in the educational system because it's sort of subjective. It's the mind. That's it. It's separate. So they don't play it. And this is the guy who is responsible for that. So if you notice, I put the phrase there where it says, wherever the mind was, God, the mind was God's instrument. So the study of it fell in the area of religion. Always the mind, never matter. So scientifically, you can't really study the mind. That's what he was simply saying. So why not waste time with it? Just leave it alone. But that's going to be proven to be wrong. And I will give you some other researchers who said that this view is wrong. And to this day, it's been rejected. And that's kind of what we're talking. For example, quantum physics is a contradiction to what he said. So we know that light, there's power. We know all of this from science, from quantum physics. I'm not that bright, so I didn't study that stuff. So I'm just kind of like, cross over a little of that stuff, right? But the point is, the whole point is that Einstein, which we will study, and those guys kind of prove that some of those things are not so. And so that's where we are today. I mean, look at technology. We are on, you are in Jamaica and I'm in the United States and we're having a live conversation.
Yes, sir.
I mean, can you imagine the level of technology to allow me to talk to you and to be able to see you at the same time and you to see me at the same time?
In fact, even though I'm looking at it right now, I still believe that this is impossible. Yes, sir.
But you see, according to Descartes, this could not be possible.
Yeah.
But it is possible.
Yes, it is, of course.
And it's a tremendous ability to be able to do this and to understand that. So the message is, what else can we do with our lives to change our lives? I mean, think about if Paul and those guys had this media, this way of communicating the gospel. But they did more than we today who have this technology.
Well, because they keep us busy.
I mean, can you imagine how long it took for them to go from Rome to, from Jerusalem to across the world? I mean, even for you to travel from Kingston to Saba to Ocho Rios, walking. I'm not talking about riding a bus. Okay, I'm not talking about riding a bus or a train. Riding a donkey, probably. From Kingston to Ocho Rios. About how long they would take you?
A lot of time.
Huh? But those were the challenges that the early apostles had. Think if you were to try to get from where you are to Haiti without a plane and a rowboat, another boat with engine now. We're not talking about engine. Use a sail and the wind to get from Jamaica. I mean, you may wind up all over the place, depends on the wind. You may not even make it based on the storm.
Yeah.
But that's where we are today. So we have a lot more to give God thanks for. The problem is we're using it in all the wrong ways.
Yes, sir.
So I guess we should say shame on, God is probably saying shame on you when you say you can't do this or that,
Yes, sir.
I mean, think about what you can do on Facebook if you choose to. Productive, wholesome.
Yes, sir. The brain is really powerful. And my concern, because I've been watching some videos, that are showing the power of the mind, but people don't really give God the credit. They mostly, relate the mind with nature, with the subconscious, they are saying that if you meditate, if you allow yourself to be connected with nature, there is nothing that you want to do that is going to be impossible. You just need to believe and all of that. So they take the credit from God and then they give it to nature, as to say that if we allow ourselves to be connected with nature, then we are going to achieve what we need to achieve in our lives.
Okay. I mean, I'm laughing because, it is so ridiculous when you think about where we are in time and what we have and how little we do. It's just, it's comical when you think of what we can do. And, Paul says, I can do all things through him that strengthens me. Yes. Now, when we use that statement today, okay, think about what we have, the technology that we have, and how much more we can do than Paul when he made that statement. He had a lot of limitations. Just to travel was a limitation. But from his vantage point, he was able to say, I can do all things. So today, We don't have all those limitations. And yet we're not as convinced that we can do all things. So we should be able to exceed what he did, because a lot of barriers have been removed. I mean, before Galileo, people believed that the world was flat, and if you go too far, you're going to fall off. I mean, we have carved highways in the sky. We have jet planes flying. We have highways up there. Jet planes are flying in the sky every day. Thousands of planes crossing each other in the sky, flying from one place to another, carrying hundreds of people.
That's what I was saying. That's my point. When speaking about planes, I'm not really speaking about, what we can achieve as Christians with technology, but I'm speaking like those scientists who invent planes, cars, and all these, like seemingly magical things that human being have achieved with the brain. Many of them don't believe in God. They rather believe in science. Science is
believe
like
in themselves
God.
and that's the point.
Yeah, but really and truly, it is all these things comes from God. Now, it may be difficult for me to explain why is that, though they don't believe in God, though they don't depend on the strength of God, as Paul said in Philippians 4 and verse 12, they still achieve these things, So I don't know, but really and truly, when they attribute that with nature, with the power of the subconscious mind, it doesn't really make sense to me, because meditate only cannot do that. The brain God gives you helps you to do these things.
I agree. Now, Richard, you're pretty silent on a lot of these stuff. What's going on? What are your thoughts? What are you thinking?
I'm just listening, sir.
You're listening. We don't want you to listen. We want you to interact. We want to share your thoughts, share your ideas. Demonstrate that you're alive, that your brain is kicking.
Sir, I know that I am alive, but hear what I'm saying, sir. I would have encountered a lot of people who, I would say, they are atheists, and their belief that because they have their machineries, they don't need God, because they can do everything with their machine without the strength of God. So even my employer, who I work with overseas, he's not a believer of God. He's a farmer, and he does not believe that the rain does not come from where God does not fall rain. God does not make the thunder roll or make the lightning flash. He does not believe in any of that.
Where are you living? What country are you in now?
I'm in Jamaica.
Okay. Let me just say this, that in order for you to become an atheist, you must first believe in God. You hear the statement? In order for you to be an atheist, you must first believe in God.
Yes, sir.
And the reason you come not to believe in God is because God has disappointed you in some way. You trusted him and he didn't deliver whatever you want. So you come to dislike him. An atheist is a person who dislikes God for whatever reason. God didn't give him what he wanted or what have you. Maybe his mother was sick and he prayed and God didn't do what God was supposed to do. Therefore, he's angry at God. He says God doesn't exist. In order for you to be an atheist, you must first believe in God. Just the very conversation that there isn't a God says at some point it had to have been a conviction that there was. But the question is the disappointment. Why is it? The question you need to ask atheists is this. What has gone wrong for you to change your views? What did God not deliver? And it might be something as simple as, looking at someone who's filthy rich, and you will never be able to be that when they were born that way, born with a silver spoon. You said there can't be no God. Why is it that, Donald Trump's children, Bill Gates' children, will never have to work? And how come you work so hard and you will never be able to provide for your children the same way? So you may come to believe, this God, I don't want to have anything to do with this God. He's not fair to begin with, even if he was. So sooner or later, I'm going to not have anything to do with him. I see you shaking your head. I don't know.
Well, these things are like, I can understand everyone with their position and whatsoever. But really and truly, as the Bible says, they are being blinded, they are being deceived. They don't look at what they were supposed to look at, but they look it in a different way, which is the wrong way anyway.
Right, okay. So we will end here for today, but just look up Descartes for me. Google the thing, and then we'll come back next week. We'll do a little powwow on it.
Okay.
That fair? Remind me though, I won't remember what I just said.
Yes, sir, no problem.
So make a little note, make a note, okay?
Yes, sir, I have it written already.
Okay, Richard, make a note, okay?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, good. So see you guys. Enjoy the weekend. Well, it's weekend, it's Friday, right? Enjoy your weekend. Be safe.
Yes,
Wear
sir.
your mask. Wear your mask. Avoid the COVID.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You too.
You don't want to get sick, okay?
No, we don't want to.
Okay, then. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. Bye.
How do I get out of this thing? I don't know how.